Lindsay, welcome to the show.
It's an honor to be here.
Oh, I don't know. It's a thrill for me. The honor is all mine. It's a thrill to have you on. So I'll just full disclosure. I've been on a major fitness, uh, you know, journey. Pre-COVID, had some hiccups in my life, and COVID had COVID depression. Not working out, drinking a little too much, being sedentary, the whole thing. COVID, the blues that many folks had. So this year I decided to come back, and you've helped me. You've been helpful in the journey for me.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's been you are a fitness and wellness coach
Mhm.
in Philadelphia.
A guide, I would say. In your case, I just guided you.
A shaman.
Yes.
You're like a fitness shaman. No, I mean so let me ask you what it's interesting to know only 24 to 30% of Americans exercise regularly. Are you surprised? Do you think it's higher or lower than that?
Well, I think if we look at people, like you said, consistently, like are people doing this as like a lifestyle habit or are they doing this in spurts? Which I think that's kind of what we're going to talk about today.
Right, right, absolutely.
And I think I don't know if that percentage is probably people who do this, maybe not even, I think it would be lower of the people who exercise daily or weekly, like on their normal, if they exercise 3 days a week. I think it's a matter of how many people do it without it being like looking a lot like leaps and valleys of taking it on as like a challenge and doing it short term and then, taking a break and then coming back. And
It's interesting. This number they're saying jumps up if you look at so the federal guidelines. I don't know what agency does this, DHS or the President's Council. I don't know who does this now. I guess it's the Secretary of. I was going to say the Secretary of War does all those pull-ups. I hate that the Secretary of War is so lame that title. Yeah, I guess Kennedy and Hesgetz making this big deal about it, the pull-ups and the push-ups. But this common federal measure is 150 minutes of moderate or 75 minutes of vigorous aerobic activity per week, plus 2 days of muscle strengthening activity. That about 24.2% of adults achieve that.
Mhm.
Now, if you go down to the aerobic, it's 46.9%. So 46.9%. I actually am surprised the number's that high.
Yeah. I'm guessing they consider that like walking, people who might even, walk the mall or walk around their
Right,
neighborhood. Yeah.
right. And they're getting. I'm guessing they're also thinking, that where are they getting the data? I guess this is self-reporting.
Yeah. And it's probably over a long period of time.
So, Lindsay, you are a fitness wellness coach. When do people come to you? Do people usually come to you when they want to get better, when they're already working out? Do people come to you without a plan? Do people come to you saying, "Oh my God, like it's been so many donuts, and now I never want to go put a bathing suit on again"? I mean, what are some of the common stories that bring? And you specialize in women, right?
Yeah, mostly
Although-
women. In your case, we like had this relationship from a while back and in like I've always been doing or I've always been coaching people online for a while and kind of pointing them to systems and programs that are helpful that they can just like do work out from home using. I would say most people though come to me a lot like what you were mentioning, especially this was happening in the last 5 or so years post pandemic, is that like people were working out of their house, right? Their kitchen is right next to them. You're literally working on the computer. Most people were not moving as much as they had been previously. And they found themselves in a spot where I think it was just like very difficult to either get movement in or feel motivated and not wanting to even work out in their own home. So I think a lot of people were feeling demotivated in that sense or not knowing what to do. So I would say most of my clients come to me because they're either new at strength training and not sure what to do within that type of exercise. Like anybody can just drop in a class at a gym or a local studio, right? You can sign up for that pretty easily. But most people are afraid to like maybe go to the gym themselves and work out. So I've been a personal trainer for 15 years.
Well, why is that? Why do you think do people find the gym intimidating? Is it like
Yep,
all the
absolutely.
spandex,
Especially
the
women.
lycra? What do I wear? What about the woman
Just
looks
not
better than
feeling like you
me?
belong in especially the weight room. That's why people stick to a cardiovascular machine and not ever even go and figure out how to use, a machine even, let alone the free weight area.
I'm curious too. I want to get into our main theme here, which is this holiday season thing. But I wonder, I am curious a little bit about because you work with women. Also, it seems to me that I follow some fitness influencers and whatnot on Instagram now, and it seems that so many women are afraid. Oh my gosh, if I pick up a weight, I'm gonna look like the She-Hulk, or I'm gonna
Yeah.
look. So how do you? What is this? So tell me about that, the anxiety, because you've taught me a little bit, and we can talk more about this. But you've taught me just the power of the progressive overload for all
Yeah.
genders.
Yeah.
And what is it about women that they just don't want to pick up the weight sometimes?
I think that we were taught years and years and years ago. I think we were taught that utilize like weight training, that if you pick up a weight, or the women that weight trained looked like bodybuilders. And that was probably because in the 70s and 80s, the women who did weight train actually were bodybuilders. And most of the women did jazzercise, the general population did jazzercise. And that's where we got into that like
Jane Fonda, right? These are the
yes,
Jane
like
Fonda days.
weight versus cardio, right? So that's where I think that idea of, oh, well, if I start to strength train, I'm going to look like, the bodybuilder that they were seeing, when that takes many years, a lot of effort, that just doesn't, you just don't stumble into, having that type of muscle mass accidentally.
And unusual for women anyway, right? I mean, it's
Yeah.
just well,
Yeah.
it's unusual for men too, right? I mean, these guys
Yeah.
in the '70s in the Pumping Iron documentary, Arnold Schwarzenegger admits, yeah, we all use steroids back then,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
no one's gonna just become.
And remember the amount of food that he had to eat was just like unbelievable. Like most people would not be able to probably accomplish that without feeling pretty sick.
Yeah, so you are, and do you feel like you're how have you broken through that with women when you talk to them about training? How do
I
you
think
convince them?
now what's helping is like, you know, not that I'd hate to say this, but I think fitness influencers who are also showing like hey, there's more women who are strength training and not to do it to become a bodybuilder. So that alone, and then we have access to so much information on the interwebs here. So it's so easy to learn about new styles and new techniques. We also learn, when we're all getting the same information at the same speed, we don't have to wait 10 years for it to like arrive in a textbook, like we did in the like 70s and 80s and even 90s. When I was first studying exercise science, uh, a lot of what I was learning was like nothing that I learned previously in the industry in group fitness and things like that. I did notice that there was a little bit of a space in between what was coming out of studies and what was being at that point coming out of the internet as well.
So we are coming up on the holiday season.
Mm.
All right. Now, this Thanksgiving is just a couple. It's just it's like 10 days away, 8 days away, something like that. And 10 days, I guess. And that starts. We have the Thanksgiving, we have the office holiday parties, the Hanukkah party, we have the Christmas Eve, New Year. I mean, this is generally people are home more. They're maybe not moving as much in these holiday breaks. What happens, I think, for a lot of people is first off, a lot of people are just in a deficit already because they're not really intentionally doing a lot of movement or strength training, and their caloric intake is going up and all this. In the holidays, then they feel like shit about themselves, and then it comes to New Year's resolution and the gym membership that you don't use, and all of this stuff, this story, which I'm sure as a fitness and wellness coach you hear all the time. How do we turn that around, Lindsay? How can our listeners say, instead of having the holidays be like this terrible thing for me, goodness last, how can we make it be that kind of thing where I start my wellness journey during the holidays, and when the new year rolls around, I feel like I've already started the new year light years ahead of where I was.
Yeah. I think the first question would be like, what is the point of the pause? Are they, is it because they're taking a break during the holiday season, or they're just not, they're waiting to start? And I think this is where most people fall into that category of like, they haven't started anything yet and they're waiting to start, right? And why would I even bother taking on my health and well-being during the holiday season, when in fact, I would say like the worst thing you can do is like click on that pause button during that season, because it's such a stressful season on the body. Eating more sugar, we're naturally probably getting stress in different ways. Not everybody has, between like emotional triggers, not everybody has great family surroundings. Most people feel like family stress during this time. What else? Alcohol. You're drinking a
More
little bit more, and
drinking more and more sugar,
yeah,
right? These are
yeah.
why is the drinking more and the more sugar at the holiday parties? Why does that translate into the waistline?
Hormones, blood sugar balance. I mean, that's what controls everything. Which is why, I mean, we can get back to the importance of strength training and why it's more important as we age for our blood sugar balance. But getting back to like keeping a routine during this time when we have all these stressors, even like lack of sleep, like all the things that we know to do kind of decrease in a negative way in the during the holiday season. And it's not even just the, you know, Chrismica season, this season of the year. It's also, I would say, true for the summer season, right? There's a lot of backyard barbecues, and it extends, right, to different times of the year. And then if you're, the Jewish high holiday, like anytime there's like a lot going on within like a 6 week period for people when they're doing a lot of, family gatherings, I think this can always be an issue where people fall off their normal, I would say, I want to call it a plan, because that's what I wanted to mention is at this time of the year, it's good to have a plan. Doesn't have to be the perfect plan. There just has to be a plan.
So, what do you have to take into account in the plan? What are you when you say you have to have a plan? Are you thinking I'm going to a lot of parties. I'm going to a lot of like I have to analyze my intake. Is my intake going to be different? How am I going to? I mean, what are we planning on?
So I think I'd like to separate a lot of in my coaching, I call it the melt method, because I look at the way we move, eat, live, and think. And if you don't like look at all of these things, I think we're just missing large parts of our like total wellness. So you can take that movement category and say like, okay, well, just because you're not going to maybe start the most crazy intense programming, right? You can still do something. So what will that something look like? Right? Maybe it's just walking around the neighborhood. Maybe it's getting 2 days of strength training in. Whatever it is, it can just be like just add one habit or one thing to your plan. It doesn't have to be an intense, hard 75 or whatever these intense like non-sustainable plans are. It could just be something simple.
What about for the person that doesn't really work out? They don't know where to start. I had a friend say to me recently, a few months ago, he said, so I was saying, yeah, I'm really getting back into shape, feels good. He said, but you know how to do these things. You just know how to. And what about for the person that feels like, they haven't been much of an athletic person over the course of their life. They don't really know their way around a weight room or how to do home fitness or, how does that person get oriented a little bit and get a start on this?
I think for most people, understanding that you were probably once there too, because even I was. I think we all start
Sure.
somewhere. None of us probably started where we were like super consistent even or knew what we were doing. I do like to try to help people find something that they're going to enjoy doing and that it's not a chore. I don't think it should feel like, I don't know, like a military style boot camp of some sort where you're being punished. I think movement should be something that you enjoy. So maybe for that person, it's more of like a sport or a community involvement type of movement, right? Like I know there's like a lot of local organizations here in Philly who do, you can join. I think they even have like flag football or ultimate frisbee, like super fun ways to exercise and be amongst community.
What about, I mean, so, okay, first of all, you're saying, what I'm hearing is look at your own disposition. What do you like doing?
Hmm.
What would be easiest to add in to start doing? Maybe you like walking, maybe you like that pickup basketball, maybe
Hmm.
you used to like jogging when you were younger or something. So lean into something temperamentally that feels safe and feels good.
Hmm.
So that would be the first thing. Like, let's take a look at it. Let's do something challenged by choice, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's find something that's attainable.
Yeah. The other thing that I think, and this is another way that people tend to find me, is that they're now being told by their doctor that they have to do something. And mainly because of our age, most people are being told, you need to strength train. If you're 30 or above, your doctor is probably telling you to strength train.
Now, let me ask you this. When is the time? So one of the things you helped me with, I tend to be addicted to high intensity
Yeah.
interval training, cardio, and you told me I needed to really consider switching it up to going to more progressive
Hmm.
overload, more intense strength training. And that for initially was hard for me because temperamentally
Hmm.
I tend to like this fast hydrate.
Hmm.
It has been hugely transformative. I
Hmm.
put on like, uh, 12, 13 pounds of muscle over the course of the year, and also taken off a significant amount of fat. I could not have done this had I not switched up my mind. But it was hard for me because I had to. Now I'm really enjoying the strength training. I'm really enjoying it, but I had to push a little against my temperament. So I
Hmm.
mean, at what point do you lean into like the temperament, and at what point do you need to sort of expand what you'd be drawn to in order for overall wellness
Yeah.
and fitness?
Well, mentally, I don't know the answer, like what causes people to want to take that next step, but that's what it would be. I think most people would come to a point where they realize, like, you know what? I want to take the next step. I want to learn more, right? We're constantly, I think, like, this is what, like, adaptation or progressing means, right? Is like we're always looking for that, like, next step to conquer. And I think most people will get to that point and want more and want to, like, they're craving to learn more or do something new. In a lot of cases, it's because somebody else presented something to them, like, oh, hey, I picked up pickleball. You should come and join me. So I think it's like really easy for that to happen as we chat with other people or somebody mentions like, oh, I go to Orange Theory Fitness. So I think it's really like in our culture for that to happen, and that people are always looking at other ways to move.
What do you think? There's a great book I actually referenced yesterday in a conversation with some friends called Myths Americans Live By. And it's about sort of things that in American culture, some myths that have sustained us, some of which are unhelpful, quite frankly. But I wonder what fitness and wellness myths are people that are listening to this who are thinking, oh my gosh, I got to get in shape. Or, oh my gosh, the holidays are coming. Last holiday, I blew up like a balloon, and it took me months and months and months to feel like I could go outside in a bathing suit again or something. What are some of the myths that are rattling around that would undermine or subvert or sabotage someone who wants to get healthy now that the holidays are hitting?
When you say myth, so I'm hearing I'm hearing like when go ahead.
Things that people don't believe, or things that people believe that are just wrong, things that they've heard that are overplayed, over
Yeah, I mean,
exaggerated,
if you're talking about
things that,
holiday, I think the myth of like having to start like or have a New Year's resolution that's typically health related, right? And typically it's always something unsustainable. And I think that's like if that's a typical thing that happens this time of year where we wait because we're thinking we're going to start something in January. I'm not going to do anything right now because I'm going to go real hard in January. And then from like in another that's a very more time sensitive holiday season issue. But I also think things like what you mentioned earlier, the myth of like women picking up any type of weight is going to make them suddenly super muscular. Or, we call it tone, we have to sometimes in our marketing, you never want to turn people off by saying, but you'll see it in a lot of marketing where they'll say toning instead of muscle building. But really, that's what we are doing. We are building muscle.
Yeah, tell me about toning. What is that? I mean, what does that even
It's just a
mean? Like,
word that
why?
means
Why?
muscle building, and we've softened it, I guess, so that way some of the population feels like that's a little bit more accessible, or they don't want to be they want to tone instead of muscle building, but really it's the same thing. There's no such thing as toning, really. It's just muscle building.
Right, because when you're strength training, right, you're putting
Yeah.
the muscle under stress,
Yep.
you're tearing it, and what you're actually doing is your muscles as you're working on as you're doing, I guess, the progressive kind of overload stuff.
Yeah.
When your muscle gets tired and can't do anymore, your body's sending messages that, oh my gosh, the muscles got to be repaired, and let's build it back stronger
Right.
so that it doesn't rip the next time,
Right.
right? And
Right.
so basically these little fibers get so when you notice that your bicep is a little bigger,
Yep.
you're noticing that you got oh my gosh, I have the little horseshoe on my tricep, whatever. That's because this is a process, right, of breakdown and repair.
Mm-hmm. And that's where like the progressive overload comes in, because the progressive overload doesn't necessarily always mean you're picking up a heavier weight. And I think that's what a lot of people assume. It's really just you're gradually increasing any type of stress into the environment, whatever that is. It can be more reps. It could be doing the same amount of work, but in a quicker amount of time. Less rest periods, right? You can add weight, you can add reps, you can add sets. You could slow things down even. Maybe we're going to work the eccentric part of the movement and move a little bit slower. Shorten rest periods. All those things could be examples of how you're like progressing through any type of training programming.
Yeah, I listened to Arnold Schwarzenegger's podcast, which is actually quite good. I mean, it's not long, and he does lots of different kind of things around fitness, around health, around wellness, psychological stuff. But he was saying, referencing a study a couple months ago that found that, because it's always the question, right? Like, should I do like lighter weight, high reps, lower weight, fewer reps, to fit? He said, as long as you're doing progressive overload, the study found both worked. It
Both
didn't
work.
matter
Right.
if you were doing
Right.
lighter. If at your last rep you're faltering, you're slow down. Oh, that's all I can do. Whether that's heavy weight and 5 reps or a lighter weight and 15 reps, if the overload is happening,
Yeah.
it didn't
The
make a
volume
difference.
is the same at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
so interesting
Yeah.
because I think people think that, oh, if I don't want to build muscle, do the lightweight, lots of reps. If I want to build muscle, I do the pick up the heaviest weight I
Right.
can and just do it like 3 times. But the overload produces muscle
Right.
regardless.
And that's why a lot of times with progressive overload programming, the programming itself is kind of always changing in a way that is, you know, like I said, the sets change a little bit. You have shorter rest periods. It's not only because you can only, and you probably know this, but because there's movements where you're not going to, I don't care. You can show me any bodybuilder and we always like, people will laugh about this, that like a lateral raise, you're still doing like a lightweight. you know you're
Right,
never
right, right,
gonna
right, right, right,
like, you
right.
can't so how do you have some type of progression there? And that's because the volume, you just have to like change that stressor in some way.
So I'm curious for people that, I mean, some people are gym people, some people are not gym people, right? I mean,
And then there's a little
you
overlap, I always say.
the people that do
Yeah.
both. I'm
And
one of the
enjoy
I go to
both.
the gym a couple. Yeah, I'm a super
Hmm.
extrovert, so I like
Yeah.
strangers. I like talking to
Yeah.
new people. But I also go to the gym. I work out mostly at home, but I go to the gym because to do for the cardio machines, like for the
Mhm.
stepper, for other things. Because what I've learned this year is that it's actually better to do sort of an incline at a slow speed, or do the stepper or something that I don't have to be going really
Mhm.
fast. That the resistance of the incline or the stepper
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
fantastic. More fat burn, some light
Yeah.
strength training. So I go to the gym for that. But I mean, for people that want to do this at home, right? I mean, Do they need a lot of money? I mean,
Nope.
what how do you get started? Where do you find resources to work
Yeah.
out? Like, what do
They're
you how do you
endless.
know how do what
They're endless.
yeah, alright.
They're
Tell me,
typically endless.
give us the best ones. Give us the best ones. Where do you start people?
So, I think it's everything needs to be personalized. So when I first start working with a client, I typically have to find out like what's going on in their health, and that's kind of how we navigate through whatever path that we're going to take. What do they enjoy doing? What type of equipment do they have at home if it's something where like they are going to be working out at home? What do they feel comfortable with? Is it me like virtually training them at first? If they're trying to learn how to even do it, are they brand new and never touched a dumbbell before? Right. So, like, some people start there, where other people have maybe a little bit more of a background of going to the gym in the past, or maybe they were an athlete in high school. So maybe they've done some stuff before and they can just like and maybe they have Peloton already sitting at home, so then I can like help them navigate through even using some type of, online programming. I've worked within the body community before, so I always, point people to that direction as well. I think that's very accessible.
So this is the
Yeah,
P90X, the
yeah.
Chauncey and
Yeah.
Sand I mean,
Yeah,
they have
I
a
taught a
million
lot of
programs
those
now.
formats in the past. There's programming on there you can just easily follow. There's so much online programming that you can get access to, and a lot of which is very good. Like, we've come so far.
And you can do a lot, right? I'm shocked, I think. Tell me if I'm right about this. You can just do so much. Like I've accomplished so much with dumbbells and a
Mhm.
jump rope
Mhm.
and a
Yep.
yoga mat, right?
Mhm.
I mean, if you have a little bit
Yeah,
of
5
space
by
in your
5, 5
apartment
by
or your
4. Like, you don't need a lot
yeah,
of space.
you can really right. You don't need
Mhm.
you don't need a Bowflex.
Yeah.
You don't need a Peloton. A couple adjustable dumbbells and a jump rope or something
Yep.
and a yoga mat, and you'd be
Yeah.
surprised, right? How fit you can
Mhm.
get.
It doesn't have to you
I
don't
mean
have
that
to start, like I said, I think most people, we want everything to be perfect. We want the best top, program or whatever the hot new thing is. It's the other thing is people will want to just follow along to whatever the trend is at the moment. Um, but at the end of the day, it's just figuring out what you enjoy the most, what you're actually going to do consistently, and you just having a guide or somebody to be accountable to also helps.
how is that I mean, is that a hard part of your job? I mean, how because I mean, how do you hold people accountable and yet not, you know, make them feel terrible about themselves, right? I mean, they're paying you. Is that awkward? Because 'Cause they're paying you. How do you tell them what to do when sort of, they're paying you and I mean, how do you navigate that
I don't know. I
relationship
think
and
most
motivate
people,
them?
I think once they're in it and have a reason to be doing something, it's really easy for them to be reminded of why they're there and what they're doing and why they're doing it, why to stay involved, why to just keep going. I don't know. And things change and we can navigate through that. That's also the beauty of having a coach. When you're navigating through changes, things change, you get injured, or for women they might have a pregnancy, and then we just go into different types of programming, right? Like, things that you have to kind of always re-navigate through your programming, and variety is great anyway. So just like you like to do, it's kind of like switch it up slightly every few months.
Yeah, I've had great success with the beach body
Mhm.
stuff, the
Mhm.
body community. If, for folks, it's if like a free ad for them, right? Body.com, BODI. But I mean, they do have, subscription services, very reasonable, and the amount of I've cycled through a couple different programs recently, and they've been amazing. I mean, I built a significant amount of muscle. I've lost a lot of fat. I mean, I also supplement that with I try to do at least 10 minutes of yoga a
Mhm.
day. Now that I get off the fitness
Mhm.
app on the that's another thing, right? The fitness app
Apple,
on
yeah, you
Apple.
were the one you and like another and one of my clients had mentioned to me about that, and I was like, wait, I pay for that, and I never even like looked at it, and it's actually like really good, great programming.
I The
Yeah.
yoga workouts
Mhm.
there are
Yeah.
amazing, just amazing, and they have them you can filter for kind of music you want, how many
Yeah.
minutes you want, and that sort of thing. It's been I mean, that to me has been remarkable. That to me has been but part of it, I'm pretty self-directed and motivated. So I have a really nice space to work out where I live, and it's been great for me. Let me ask you this: what about somebody who they're getting into this, right? They're just decided, look, I haven't worked out much in my life. The holidays are coming. Okay, we're trying to encourage you. If this is you, get it now. Before Thanksgiving, let's get on it. What do they say? They say I wouldn't know what the hell to do in the
Yeah.
gym. I mean, like I got to go to the gym. I don't have any space to work out of my house. I don't have any weights. I got to go. I got to go to the gym. How does someone who's a novice know how to make their way around a gym? Know what machines to do, what days to do them, what? I mean, I suppose this is where
Yeah.
someone like you can help
Yeah,
out a
yeah.
lot, right,
So
Lindsay?
I do help people with learning how to utilize. Mainly it's starting out at home and then getting to the point, like, it's for some people, it's they want to, if they've never touched a dumbbell, right, that is, and they don't know how to maybe properly do a squat or a lunge or any of the functional movement patterns. If we've learned those and they feel comfortable and want to go to a gym, or just to realize they want to use machines at the gym to start off with because they're a little bit easier to navigate, right, and like not do something incorrectly. I think the hardest part for people, and why they're a little bit apprehensive to go to a machine, is like they're hard to maneuver sometimes and get to, and that's what people are like, I don't know how to use it. So it's not so much using the actual machine, it's the getting it in place and knowing like where all the contraptions are. I think that's what scares people the most about that. But there's also programming for that as well. Like there's newbie, how to work out in a gym programming available. Like that's the beauty of like the accessibility to fitness at the moment, at least.
Do you go to clients to the gym with
Yes.
clients? Do you
Yes.
do that? And the gym is okay with that? You can bring a
No, so
trainer?
I have a client that I go to their home, and they have a gym
Okay,
in their
okay,
building.
okay.
Normally most public gyms are do not allow that. And if I do happen to do that, I work out with them and show them a couple things, and that way they don't get in trouble. But it's not an ongoing thing. I won't be able to go there and train them ongoing because most gyms who have offer trainers won't really allow other trainers to come in.
No, let's say somebody is they do have a little bit of a fitness program, or they feel confident right now that they're getting on a treadmill a little bit, they're doing a few weight machines. But so much of this is diet. So much of this is what you eat. What should they when they walk into the holiday party, what should they gravitate to and say, okay, eat this. If you're gonna eat a little extra, that's fine. What are the foods that you say run like hell? Go the other way when someone offers it to you. Say
No,
no,
I don't
no,
think you
no, I'm not
should.
gonna
I
eat.
think that you should have food
Okay,
freedom,
all
and I
right.
think you should enjoy the holidays. I mean, I 100% believe in food freedom. You should create more of a plan. Again, it comes back to proper planning. Instead of like, you should enjoy those things, but you should also think about, okay, can I prioritize making sure that I get some protein and veggies, therefore fiber, into whatever else I'm going to enjoy the alcohol, I'm going to enjoy the all the goodies, but can I also
The
prioritize,
pigs in the blanket.
yeah, can I also like check off the thing I know I'm supposed to be doing? So that way it's funny that you said pigs in a blanket, because that reminded me of, like, we'd like to call it like putting a blanket over when you're eating, if you're eating sugar, put a blanket over it, right? Of like a carb and a fiber. I mean, a protein and a fiber. So think about always aligning it with something full of protein.
And this has been the thing that has changed for me this year. And again, I've had great success, and thank you so much for all you've done, because I call you all the time and I text you, and you're always giving me hacks. But I think one of the hacks you've helped to encourage me with is just eating a
Yeah.
lot of protein, right? I mean, and I notice, like, I
Mhm.
feel fuller, and it's easier
Yeah,
to
and
put
that's
muscle on.
that was your
And
goal,
so, and
right? Your goal was to like make sure that you maintained and put on as much muscle mass as possible. And you can't do that if you're not eating enough protein.
right, and this is, I mean, this is a big thing, right? And protein and muscle will
Yeah.
help you also with the fat loss too, right? I mean, the more muscle you put on, the more calories your body's just going to consume sitting there,
Hmm.
right? So you're just going to become more of a calorie. You put on 10 pounds of muscle, your body, it's just like putting a bigger engine in a car that's consuming more gas, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
consuming more
It keeps you
fuel.
full longer, right? It keeps you more
Yeah.
full. You're going to, I mean, you can look at, for most people, if their goal is like a body composition change, then we have to start getting in like a more specific, what would you call, like macronutrient balance, where we're going to really like, in order to figure out what's working best for them, we kind of have to track a little bit and figure out, or if I say macronutrient balance, but it's also means like looking at your portion sizes and things like that. And most people, when they're just starting out, um, that isn't like a super specific goal. They're not like, oh, I need to reduce to this very specific percentage of body fat and gain this amount of muscle, right? So for most people, it's just like, let's just prioritize your protein and fiber. And that's pretty simple, right?
Now, this is a term you're going to hear if you're walking around the gym or whatever, and the fitness heads, right? The people that are like, these people are just living for fitness and reading magazines and on the, fitness sites.
Yeah.
What are your macros,
Yeah.
man? How are your macros? So tell us what
Yeah.
macros are for the people that don't
It's
know.
the
What's a
split
macro? How
between
do you track?
protein, carbs, and fats. So just imagine if I would say like I'm a very moderate approach to that would be like a 30-40-30, right? So you might have like 30% protein, 40% carbs, and 30% fat. And each of those like macronutrient um, balances are so like protein, and if you look at like the volume of food, your protein and your carbohydrates are 9 calories per, and your fats are 9, and your protein and carbs are 4. So you have
Right,
to like,
right.
so for a lot of people, it's like you can now use a calculator. You don't have to be a mathematician to figure this out. Um, but you can just go into like a macro calculator and figure out what those percentages are to equal to those grams, the calories per gram. So then for some people, they want to know exactly how many grams that means, not only per day, but per meal. So that can be helpful too to most people. Like what does 30, if you're shooting for 30 grams of protein per meal, what does that actually look like, right? And we can use the portions that, when you use your hands for your portion sizes. Like I use that with a lot of people who want to use that method. Because again, it has to be personalized. Some people don't want to weigh food. Maybe they've had a disordered eating situation in the past. And so for them, it's easier to learn in a different way.
I heard something I wanted to run by you that I heard from a fitness influencer that is on Instagram. I'm not going to give her free credit or anything, but no, but I just actually forget her name, but she pops up in my, how
Mm-hmm.
the algorithms are. These people just populate your algorithm. But she said she was talking about protein sources, and she was saying, okay, how do you know if something's a good protein source? And she was talking about stuff like peanut butter. She said, not a
Yeah.
good protein source. Here was her method. This might be very common. I
Mm-hmm.
just never heard it. Should take the protein grams
Mm-hmm.
on the label, or times it by 10. Is it more than the calories? So let's say a serving of peanut butter has whatever 8 grams of protein in it. Times it by 10, that's 80 grams. The 200 calories the serving has, bad protein source. She says, now look at a chicken breast, 22 grams or whatever, times that by 10, 220, which only 150 calories. That's a good protein source. So is that a good working method? She was trying to think like if you're, how do you get the most bang for your buck with a
Yeah, I
protein
never heard
source?
of that one. Or maybe I have, but more in a like we look at it from like sometimes we look at like the sodium. People will do that with sodium, like divide it by 10 and figure out if it's like more than the calories, then you shouldn't have, then that means it's a high sodium product. But yeah, as far as I think when we're sometimes I forget that when I'm in it, it's natural for me to be like, oh yeah, protein, I mean, I'm sorry, peanut butter is really a fat. right? It happens to have protein in it. It's
Right.
so it's a fat that has some protein, just like think of quinoa
That's
is
what
the
she was
same
saying.
way.
That's what
Yeah,
she said. You're
it's still a grain, it's
yeah.
still a carb. It has some protein in it. So while it's like it has to fall into one of those categories, even though when you look at your macros for the entire day, it's still that like 2 grams of protein that that peanut butter might have is still going to add to your total protein amount. Um, but you wouldn't just say like, well, this is my protein source. I'm going to have, I'm going to add some peanut butter into something and that's like the protein of what I'm eating. Well, you're probably not going to hit your protein goal for that meal if that's all you're if that's all you're looking at and your goal is to have, 25 grams per meal.
Yeah, and how do you know? Okay, so I bought some protein shakes, which are this Quest. I think we're doing a lot of product placement here, but
I hope you
this is
get
free
paid.
product placement. Should all be paying us. But these, I found some yogurt. So the Quest protein shakes have been great, like 45 grams of protein. They're only like 200 calories. Uh, you know, or I found some great yogurts that are like 20 to 25 grams. How do you know if this stuff? But I was just reading something recently that was saying avoid these things like these pretzels with
Mhm.
protein, right? And I guess this is the same kind of thing, right?
It's
Throwing
marketing, right?
they're
It's just
throwing
marketing.
they're
Yeah.
throwing protein in food
Yeah.
that's not that, so you're getting a
Yeah.
little bit of protein, but getting too much
Yeah.
of other stuff, right? I mean, how do you know where the good protein sources are, and how do you know that when something says it's got 25 grams of protein, that's for real? How do you know? Like, how do you trust the sources, and how do you hone in on what
I
are the
think
right ones?
sticking to what is not man-made first, right? It's fine if you want to supplement with a product, something that's been like processed. But I would say first have your animal source of protein, right? Like, so your chicken, your beef, turkey, salmon, whatever your choice of animal protein would be. And or even like if you're vegan or vegetarian, you can have tofu and tempeh and all of those are fine too. And first stick to those. And then if you need to supplement with others, then you can bring in something else that you're like, oh, okay. But if your entire daily diet consists of, all these you're probably, like you said, you're going to have more of these other artificial, you're going to have like a slew of other ingredients that are probably going to be either too carb heavy or too much sugar, let alone I have no idea what other chemicals or anything that they're putting in them to make them taste good now. So I'm not sure. Like
Now,
frankenfood.
if you exactly, this is the problem, right? With I think another thing would probably be right. Like when in doubt, stay away
Yeah,
from the
natural
processed
whole
food
whole
and
foods
get
are,
something that's more whole. Yeah, right,
your
right.
diet should consist of that mainly, and then have fun, right? Like then, you can supplement with
right.
other things. I'm not even a fan of like bars and like meal replacements. They're great if you're like on the road traveling one day, but like they're just not, it's not real food.
Right. It's
Yeah,
a candy
yeah,
bar with
yeah,
some protein in it.
yeah, yeah.
The other thing that if again, the algorithms just read your mind, and they know I'm thinking about the stuff, and they populates my all my feeds. But if I hear the word calorie deficit again, I'm going to break my phone. What the mantra is constantly, right, is that if
Hmm.
you want to lose weight, right, and by lose weight, people really
Hmm.
mean lose fat, right? I mean, they're not
Yeah,
saying, "Oh my gosh, I
yeah.
wish my bones were not as thin." I gotta really, when we're talking
Fat
about weight
loss.
loss, we're talking about fat loss, right? And that would look different for many people, right? I mean, people could look great and healthy
Hmm.
at different weights, so it's really fat loss. But if you want to lose fat, right, if you're trying to lose fat, you've got to
Yes,
run calorie deficits.
yes.
That's what they're going to tell you, right? Now, why is it that I've got to run calorie deficits? We don't like budget
Yeah.
deficits with the government. Why is
Because that's
calorie deficit
scientifically the
good,
only thing
budget
that
deficit
is
bad?
what's causing that type of fat loss or weight loss at the end of the day.
So tell us what is it? What do what's a calorie deficit, and how do we
You're
know if we're in
taking
one?
in less calories than what your energy expenditure is. So whatever your total movement and whatever your basic metabolic rate is, if you add that all up in a day, your calories are going to be like either probably just slightly less than that. So that's why when we think of like other diets and you think of things that you've heard of, like the keto diet, that this diet, like everything, at the end of the day, what's really happening is like when you're removing something out, it makes keeping that calorie deficit or achieving that calorie deficit a little bit easier because now you're removing something. So that's why a lot of people are like, well, what do you mean? I'm not counting calories. I'm doing XYZ diet. And the reason why that's working is because at the end of the day, it's still a calorie deficit because they're,
Right. So we
because they're by removing something, what they're doing is, they're taking away from probably what they were doing before. So it ends up being less than.
And so the simple idea is that if you're like, let's say you're resting and active, it's on my Apple Watch. I have an Apple Watch here, and so it's saying to me right now that oh, that's so funny. The audio thing just got enabled, but right now I have 850 active calories burned in 91 minutes of movement, and oh, I stood for it. But my goal is 900 a day. So
Of your exercise,
that
you're
active
saying,
calorie,
of your move, or including your
yeah,
neat movement.
of my movement. Yeah, counting my exercise, counting when it's tracking me, just walking and burning calories that way and stuff like that. So that 900 is added to about 2,000. So I'm I'm just me taking up space. Averages when I look at my watch 1,900 to 2,000, 1,900 to 2,000 calories a day. Right? If I just lay on my couch and binge watch and do nothing except get up and go to the bathroom and drink water, I'll
Okay,
still burn
right.
about 2,000 calories just to
Yeah.
sustain me. So if my active calories, me moving around, lifting some weights, jumping rope, whatever, walking to the store, and my sitting on the couch, sitting here talking with you, if that adds up to 2,900, if I want to lose weight, if I'm not at my ideal weight, and I think I want to, or really saying I've got too much fat on me, if I want to get the fat, I've got to take in less than
Yep.
2,900 to
Yep.
kick in some weight loss.
Now, it's kind of a loaded question in a couple different ways, because one thing is like when we get our bodies working optimally, you can still see some like body composition changes. So for some people, it might not just be like weight loss, but like body comp changes. You can still see some changes while we're navigating through different types of like nutritional programming where we can refeed and bring calories up a little bit. But typically, it's never going to go beyond, right? Like above that energy expenditure unless you're trying to put on weight. Let's say your goal is to put on muscle and you realize like I do understand that I might go up a few pounds in order to put on this muscle. Like there's two different systems like or processes. There's like mTOR and AMPK, and the mTOR they kind of work independently, and mTOR is where you're in that like kind of like muscle building stage, where AMPK is that fat loss stage. So yes, it's kind of a loaded question. It's not I don't want to say that that's like everybody is always, but if you want if in a calorie deficit is what you need to lose body fat.
Yeah, if I feel like I'm overweight, if I feel like I'm just, my body fat for a male, mine right now is probably in between. It's probably like somewhere around 17 to 20 or something like that right now. So that's like, I'm not in the overweight category, right? But I could get leaner. But if I want to, let's say I'm content with that. I don't need to worry about running calorie deficits.
Yeah.
I don't want to eat. I don't want to eat
Yeah.
10 million calories, right? But if I was if I was a professional athlete or a bodybuilder, and I wanted to get put on, like you're saying, more muscle, calorie deficits are not going to be my
actually,
friend,
no,
right?
yeah,
I actually might have. I might actually.
You go through. They might be used in different, right, like at different points of time for different purposes
To get leaner, if I have a bodybuilding show and I want everybody to see my
That's
abs
why you
and
always
stuff,
hear like
but in
build
general,
phase and then like like cut phase, lean out
cut
phase,
phase.
right? Like that's why they cycle like that. But there's other things that from a I mean I can it's too I feel like we're getting way too far into it, but like if you have people if I work with a client who might need to like they're having some like inflammation issues and gut issues or more like health related, symptoms and their goal is for fat loss, we might have to start at a period of where we're not focused on that, because the first thing we have to do is make sure that the body's working optimally and that their liver and their gut and all these other systems are working well before we get into the point of being like, now we're going to put you in the stress of the body of being in like a calorie deficit like that could be too or we've been doing that for too long already for that person. Could be that that's one of the issues. They've been doing that for too long. They're stressed. Their body is stressed. They've been, working out, like overtraining and under eating for too long of a period.
So that, I mean, those are sort
Yeah,
of
but I think
special
that's a
cases,
very
right? In some sense, these
common,
are clients that
very
they're
common.
the
Yeah.
outliers.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Very, very
Okay, okay.
common. Just because of diet culture has
But
really
the
done
average,
a lot of damage to us.
I didn't think about, yeah, yeah. And do you think that's more
Yes.
frequent with women
Yeah,
than
but
men? The
and
damage
maybe
to the diet
I
culture.
think
Yeah.
that I'm probably not looking at like the more recent data on that. It seems that way to me, and probably because I work more with more women, like it's like 90% women. So that it's just, I hear from women all the time. So it could be that I assume that that's the issue, but I think that we do have, I think that diet culture does affect men as well. Maybe not on the same scale, but definitely it does.
Do you think I wonder how much of an advantage it is. I would think a significant one if I were a woman to have a female coach, because I do think there's just body issues that the culture bombards women with
Mhm.
that they don't I mean, men have their own issues, and we're all on Instagram now, so it's not just women. But I think we just tell women a lot of stuff
Mhm.
in a patriarchal culture and body image issues and things like that. That my guess is there's a lot of stuff floating around
Mhm.
a lot of women's heads that you've got to work that you've got to work and kind of excavate and kind of sift through this stuff so that they can be in the right
Yeah.
headspace to
So
get
I'm
healthy.
mainly like a metabolic and hormone health driven coach. And if you think about women, we're on a 28-day cycle that doesn't exist with men. So
Right,
you
right.
have to consider all those things and how it affects everything that a woman does.
Yeah, so again, I imagine this would be a great promo, ladies, if you're in Metro
Yeah,
Philadelphia, or
I
you do
do.
distant.
Yeah, yeah.
But wait,
Now I'm
you're not
doing
just in the
online. I recently stepped away from like in person at a studio, and now I'm mostly online.
so any of my listeners,
Yeah.
anybody watching this, anywhere in the world
Yes.
could be
Yes.
their coach and friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
She has
And
helped me with
I'll
tremendous
offer, if
success. So
anybody wants
you would be
to
cool.
contact me on Instagram, Lindsay Lombardi on Instagram, or Vitality Squad Wellness on Instagram, all one word, Vitality Squad Wellness. You can find me on either of those two handles and just send me a DM, and I'd be more than happy to do a free 30-minute like mini session. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
free
Yeah.
30-minute session for the listeners here. This is friends, this show is it's such a value add, the show. It's potentially changing your life here. I could not say enough good about that because you've helped me tremendously. So just, this skinny, if someone,
Oh
I mean,
yeah, please don't.
forgive the
Please don't
word
use that.
skinny. Yeah, no, I didn't mean okay, the summary. Let me just say this. So if someone just is at the holidays, right, and they're not super active, but they'd rather not wait till New Year's, right? They'd rather hit to start now so that, by the time I get to January, I'm going to feel great already. I'll be fit already and continue a lifestyle of fitness, not just a crash diet, but a lifestyle. I mean, if they just a little bit of a calorie deficit, a little bit of strength
Or even not,
training,
if they're
and
afraid, if
a little bit of
they've never
movement.
touched away, if they're really consider themselves brand new beginner level of fitness, start with just walking. Go for a walk. It will
Go
help,
for a walk.
especially after meals. Like get outside. I would say like a couple of the things that we can, if you look at, like I mentioned before, that melt method, if I looked at movement, it could be walking. Walking specifically after each meal will help regulate blood sugar balance, right? Even before there's
Why does my blood sugar need to be balanced? Why do
so
I care about that?
it's what's going to help you not store fat, right? So you're
Okay.
going, and plus if you want to just also, it leads into other systems like high blood pressure. If you look at like things like high blood pressure, if you can control these things, there have been studies that show that it's just as I would say helpful for some people than even medications. So some
Wow.
people, if they're maybe they're not having other health concerns, they could just change some of these lifestyle habits and get outside and walk after each meal for 10, 15 minutes. Um, so supporting also like thinking about maybe more like de-stressing your body and support your nervous system instead of, like I said, it's a really stressful time for a lot of people. It's not just a happy time. So thinking about breath work, or maybe it's just stretching. I think the walks are helpful, also a helpful part of that, getting out into nature, being in the sun as much as possible during the winter months when we tend to be, we tend to be indoors a lot. So that will help to, I think, also regulate stress.
But what about basic exercise? So I think about like push-ups.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's something basic that
Squats even.
I found
Yeah, getting up.
squats, right? Or do you know the 7-minute
Yeah, like I
workout
love these,
apps?
like I think it's like becoming a new trend now, having like workout snacks, just even if you can do a 10-minute routine, or 5 minute, 7 minute, whatever it is, you can get up from your desk every 45 to an hour and do 10 squats and 10 heel pumps. Yeah,
And
yeah.
those things
That's
add
the
up,
same
right?
thing.
I mean, those
It's
things
been shown
doing little strength
to,
training.
again, regulate blood pressure, just like, or regulate yeah, blood sugar levels just as much as like going for a walk. If you can't get out for a walk, do a minute of squats and a minute of heel pumps. Your calves are your second heart, so it gets the blood
Amazing.
flowing throughout the body.
My calves
Yeah.
are my second
Yeah.
heart. I'm
Yeah.
never gonna look at my calves the same way again after hearing that phrase. And let me ask this: so I'm sure again your stuff comes up in your feeds. I'm sure because you're a coach, you're reading stuff all the time, following trends. What is a trend that you are most excited about, and what is a trend that you would tell people, look, this is out before it's in, this is overblown? I mean, what's a trend that people shouldn't ignore that's actually could be really
I don't
helpful to
believe
them,
we'll
and
call
what's
this a
something that they
trend.
should
I actually
pass
think
with?
this is like a scientific, like it's where we're going to be, it's where how we're going to change, how medicine is going to change. And I think it's going to be peptides. Peptides. So
Okay, tell
most
us.
people have heard of GLP-1s, right? Or GLP, but
Right.
there's other peptides that are all being studied right now. Most of which, and some people are getting into this. You're getting like, a lot of people in the like bodybuilding culture have already kind of testing things out. But peptides are small chain amino acids. And
Okay. Okay.
each of these peptides, they're all different types. So there's peptides for growth hormone. There's peptides for repair and recovery. So people who are getting surgery, let's say you're an athlete, I'm sure the athletes have been testing these out for the past few years, even though we're, the general public might be a few years behind. They're using a peptide, right? One of which is BPC 157. You hear a lot of people talk about, because I think that is actually available to purchase in a capsule form. Some people are getting it, you have to be kind of careful. There's a lot of risky ways to get peptides right now, and you're probably will be, if you start looking at, you will get the algorithms will start to send you marketing towards them, and some of which are probably some not so great resources. So you do have to be careful. But there's recovery peptides, like I said, there's growth peptides, there's peptides for your like skin and hair and things like that. So beauty, like copper peptides, people are using. You're seeing it put in a lot of already beauty products. So I think like the peptide trend is going to be, and I'm hoping that it's not a trend. I hope that it's something that you know the medical field is changing, and hopefully they'll.
So can I go into the fitness store, the health food store, and say,
Well,
give me a
right now
peptide?
it's
How do I
like,
get
it's not
peptides? Do I have
FDA
to?
approved. It's not it's totally being researched.
Okay.
Just like GLP-1s have just kind of started getting okayed for specific
Mainstream.
uses.
Yeah.
You can see that people use them, right? Like off brand, right? Or like off what's the term when you're not using it for like what it's supposed to be used for, right? So like some of which, that's why it was really hard for people to get certain ones. And now you go to a compound pharmacy for those things. So there's a bunch of compound pharmacies that will sell you peptides. It's just very difficult to know which ones are legitimate or not. So you just have to be really careful.
This is the supplement problem too. This is the supplement problem too, right?
Mhm.
Because none of this stuff is FDA regulated. Like when I
Yeah,
buy
those aren't
vitamins, I
either in a
don't.
lot of cases. So you just have to be, you always have to be skeptical. But now that we have a lot of,
How do you know? How do you know
uh,
what's the real vitamin and what's not?
there's a lot of great tools now. So there was the one that I just downloaded, Supco, where you can input all of your supplements that you use by brand. And they'll tell you, like, okay, this brand has been shown to like not be so great. This one's better, or you're doing great. I have a practitioner account through FullScript, and that's a company that if you've worked with a doctor ever that have sent you a link to purchase through FullScript. It's just a lot of the companies that are a little bit more tested.
All right, so there you go. And what's the thing that like you see trending out there that you're like, ah, this is
Oh
overblown.
gosh,
This
there's
is
so
this
many.
is
I don't even know where to
no.
begin.
Well,
Name me a
begin at the
few.
beginning. Give
Name
us
me a
like give
few,
us
and
the
I
one
can
that
tell you how I rate them. What's the?
I don't know. I'm not a fitness professional. I don't follow the
Yeah,
I'm a
yeah,
jump rope dumbbell guy, right? I tell Alexa
yeah,
play the Rocky music. You know, I'm a Philly guy. I listen to
yeah.
Rocky music and I work out at
Oh my
home.
gosh, I don't even know what's a trend right now. I mean, I wouldn't even call this a trend. I would just say like the opposite to what I truly believe of like just doing what somebody telling you you should try such and such. And it's like you're just blindly kind of trying something that isn't really personalized for you. And I think like the personalized approach to wellness, I think will be also an upcoming trend. We're seeing it in the medical space. We're seeing it everywhere. So I think that personalizing it based on what your needs are and what your health background is. Like you cannot ignore um, maybe following a certain even diet plan might not be best for you if you're dealing with like a slew of other health issues at the moment.
Yeah, the personalized thing.
Yeah,
I mean, with things like
genetics play a
genetics, right?
huge
I mean,
part.
this is how many fitness influencers out there are people that are just
Mhm.
genetically able to get ripped, right? I mean, they're just their body type just
Yeah.
you
Or they're
know
just like in their
gets lean
20s. Like
easily and things.
most of them
So
are in their 20s.
all right, within their 20s, they have a genetic disposition to be, and then their friends tell them, "Well, you
Yeah.
look always so cut. You should be a fitness influencer." And then other people see them on Instagram and think,
Yeah.
"Well, if I work hard, I'm going to get like that." Well,
Mhm.
no, the odds are I'm not going to because they're a different age than I am. They have a different body, like just genetic propensity to a certain kind of body composition. I love the personal thing, right? Because you've got to build the best you, and the best you is not going to be the best me or the best Lindsay or the best. So you're working to build the best you, not some
Yeah.
ideal abstract type, right?
Um, yeah, I mean, I just think that also when you were mentioning, I'm like, people are also showing their highlight reel, right? They're not, even influencers are not keeping that like level of body fat percentage year round. I can almost guarantee you.
All right, Lindsay, in
Yeah.
closing, let's go over melt again. They're like, because I love this. All right, listeners, you're thinking about getting the holidays are hitting. How are you going to stay
Yeah.
fit?
Yeah.
Lindsay, we're going to do it with
Yep.
melt, right? We're going to
Move your
start with melt.
body daily,
What's
even
melt
if
again?
it's 10 minutes. We just learned, right? You can do as little as walking around your neighborhood, squats and heel pumps, or like your 10-minute whatever workout that you choose. Next for eat, you want to eat to just focus on balancing your blood sugar at the moment. Prioritizing the protein and fiber at every meal. I would say live by taking on some positive lifestyle habits, whether that's like prioritizing your sleep over the holiday season when you know it's going to be a little bit more stressful, or maybe working on breath work, whatever it is that might be new for you. You can add that little ritual in. And our T is think, right? So this one's a little bit more tough again. Like I think it's regulating stress. I think it's trying to not feel burnt out, maybe. Again, reducing that stress and yeah, yeah,
Mindfulness. Mindfulness,
exactly.
right? Like, yeah, what are you, yeah, no, absolutely. I
Yeah.
think that the thinking part of it. Also, and
Hmm.
being aware, right, of what your goals are, who you want to
Yeah.
be, what's
Yeah.
important to you, like really being
And
present
to
to
your
yourself.
community, whatever that looks like for you around the holiday season, like making sure you spend time with community. I think that kind of also is a part of the live and think pillars.
Lindsay Lombardi, you are great. You've helped me, and thank you. I know you help countless people in their wellness and fitness journeys. Thank you for being you and for spending some time telling my listeners some things
Absolutely. And
that
I
they
just
can
want to
do to
mention that
stay
I don't
healthy
know if
during the
they
holidays.
know how like consistent you are. And I just wanted to like shout you out for being just so amazing when it comes to like having a goal, always sticking to it, just always being, you are one of the most consistent people that I know. So, yeah. I
Ah,
don't know
thank
if
you.
your
Thank you.
listeners know
That's
that about
really
you.
kind. I try. Well, it's so I find that this is the it's the tea, the thinking. I find that starting the day with regular exercise, and now I've actually changed this. I used to work out the first thing I did. Now I'm actually I try to spend 45 minutes to an hour, no screen reading,
Yeah.
reading something substantive with no email,
Yep.
no screen first thing, make my coffee, get up, and then work out. But so I find with the no screen and reading, and then the working out, I find, no, my day, it just, I'm so ready for the day. And doing it first thing like that, I don't miss
Yep.
oh, I got busy. I missed working out. So yeah, I mean, I work out usually 7 days a week. I mean, no, the weekends are usually a little lighter. Like, Saturday, Sunday is usually just a little,
Hmm.
jump rope and yoga or something. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, thank you. The consistency, that's it, right? I mean, that's where the dividends pay off. It's not in some,
Yeah.
oh, I did this miracle workout and I did,
Yeah.
no, it's
It's
just,
showing up.
it's
Yep.
showing up. So much
Daily,
of
every
life is
day,
showing up.
just doing it consistently. Yep.
Lindsay,
Thank
thank you
you.
so much. I appreciate you.